All day.
Someone else just joined us. Oh, it's recording. I think that was the record button. Let me make sure it's recording. Okay, hello everyone. Today we are going to be talking about Parents' Guide to Supporting Your Child, your gifted and talented child. Now, I made this PowerPoint so that I wouldn't forget anything. And once I started looking this up, there's a lot of information out there. Do I have all the information tonight? No, I do not. But I have some of the information, and what I'm looking for now is my chat box because I'm going to put my PowerPoint in the chat. And if there are any teachers or GT coordinators or just anybody who might want to copy it and just do your own thing with it, that's fine. Um, I think I list. I'm putting it down as a viewer, but if you want to look at it and just use it, then you can just email me, or and then I can just give you the edited version. But I'm putting this down for parents also. And this is my email address. I am at um, Leaf ISD. All right, so I'm going to get this out the way and get started. First, I'm going to introduce myself, and it's very important that you know this about me. Hello, my name is Miss T. Jones. That's my little Bitmoji this year. Hopefully, my hair will try and keep the color. It's going away, but I don't want to go to a shop. I am currently a school librarian. I have been a librarian media specialist, a technology liaison, a tutor, an award-winning teacher, first and second grade, and a host of other jobs and duties granted by my job voluntarily or by persuasion. When I was a teacher, I always taught my class as if they were GT, gifted and talented. And when you hear me use GT, then that's what I mean, gifted and talented. I did have to make my lesson plans differentiate, oh, that word, to achieve my goal. But by doing this, I always raised the lowest student's ability tremendously by the end of the year. This was documented through state testing. And what I mean by that, one of my students, her parents wanted her tested for special classes, and she didn't make it. She's a regular child, and but the tester, to my credit, she said she really tested high, and I take that from all the work I did in the classroom um, with those kids. I also have had the opportunity to be a GT coordinator at a couple of schools during my career. So I have tested students as early as kindergarten. Now, the most important thing you should know about me is that I was labeled early in school as a gifted and talented student, and as such throughout my formal education years. I attended an advanced academic high school, which led me on the course to become an electrical engineer. Um, I was talented in math. This is what I found out. I had talent in math, but my gift turns out was not math, but more along the arts. I do have a knack for poetry and writing. I can take an exam and pass on bits of information, and I earned plenty of money in college tutoring and writing papers on subjects I had never formally studied, and not only pass but would earn an A on the subject, which included healthcare management and criminal justice. I just would look at it and the words would start flowing out my head. So I felt like I was gifted more than that. So what is giftedness? Students, and I'm going to read a lot of this because this is information that I did write down and I did get from different articles. So not to miss out anything, I will be reading a lot of it. So, what is giftedness? Students with gifts and talents perform or have the capability to perform at higher levels compared to others at the same age, experience, and environment in one or more domains. They require modifications to their educational experience to learn and realize their potential. A student with gifts and talents come from all racial, ethnic, and cultural populations as well as all economic strata. And what I found out in researching this, minority students are overly underrepresented and gifted and talented for some reason or another. Requires sufficient access to appropriate learning opportunities to realize their potential. Can learn can have learning and processing disorders that require specialized intervention and accommodation. This could be some reason why some of those kids are not gifted or not labeled gifted, because sometimes the behavior may override it, and I'll get to that later. Need support and guidance develop socially and emotionally as well as in their area of talent. Now, this is what giftedness means. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on um, how it's tested because every district has their way of testing students, which is led by the national and Texas, in our state, Texas, but the National Association for Gifted Children. So every district has their testing rubric, how they test students, but this is not an insert. This is not a talk to parents about those students who are identified. This is for a parent who thinks their child is gifted or who thinks their child is talented. What do I do with my child? Well, let's take a look at some other things. Identifying gifted and talented students. Now, this is when I want to read this to you. There are gifted learners and then there are exceptional, twice exceptional learners. Now, the gifted learners are the students that have the capacity of talent, creativity, and innovative ideals. You know, these are the students you love in your class. They're going to sit there, they're going to pay attention, they're going to do all the work, and they are going to be productive citizens and, give to society. Now, there's also a twice exceptional learner. The twice exceptional learner, which means they have exceptional ability and a disability. They're gifted in some ways, but they also face learning or developmental challenges. While some gifted students show high academic success, the academically gifted student, others show low academic success. These are referred to as twice exceptional students. That could be a child that has dyslexia or an ADHD child. And please don't sleep on the ADHD child because some of those kids are so gifted and talented. And then there's a child may have behavior problems. So those children sometimes get overlooked. And it's just a little comment they wrote here. Um, Winston Churchill flunked sixth grade, and he became a world leader. So think about that. And I did link this twice exceptional learner to an article I found that I thought was really interesting. So these are some of the framework identifying that type of child: advanced creativity, creative problem solvers. I'm just reading a few of them. Likes to explore wide ranges, often esoteric subjects, advanced, wicked, often bizarre sense of humor. And I've met all these students. Persistent, enjoys codes, puzzles, games, or strategies. I had a first grader that was sent to the library because of his behavior a lot. And I was getting ready to teach a unit on coding with my third graders. And he was in there, so I was going to use him as my guinea pig. And he had never done coding before. Well, I put him on this coding program. And for those you know what coding is, it is a program where students get to learn how to actually create a program. They can create a program like they usually start off with little games, but what it does is help students learn that you can create programs using computers and you can program anything. And I was telling them, we're going into artificial intelligence, quicker than what we thought we would. And so coding, everything that's done needs a code. So if you have, like how I always tell the kids, you have a robot, that somebody programmed that robot. If you have a game that's moving by itself, somebody programmed that. And the kid's like, what? I'm like, yes, that could be you. So anyway, back to the little first grader. I put him on that program, and boy, he took off. He took off on that program. So they kept sending him to the library anyway. So I would have him work on it. So when I got ready to teach my third graders, I had a group of kids that didn't know how to do it, including me. And we all sat at a table and we made him our tutor. So you already know what that did to his boost his confidence. Now another thing during this talk, since I don't have a lot of parents, I'll be using myself as an example, or my students or people I know when I talk about gifted and talented students. But this is really good because it just tells you some of the physical challenges kids may face, those who are gifted and talented, emotional. I knew a little girl, she was so super sensitive, and but her work was superior, and sometimes they are shy. I was one of those students that didn't know how to make friends with people and really sensitive. So these are some characteristics of the twice exceptional child, which means they have an ability and a disability. And we're just saying, your child could be gifted or talented. So what course of action do you take now? You know your child is gifted and talented. And sometimes parents may feel like this young lady. And I'm going to show you this video before I read these lines.
Eventually, you had Angus tested. What was your first reaction when you saw those tests? What was your going reaction?
When I finally got the report and I read just how well he had done, that's when it really hit, and I got really anxious.
Why anxious?
I didn't know what was next. I knew what I wanted from the school and so forth. I didn't know what this meant for his future. What schooling was going to be like. We were in a very small country school. How was I going to meet his needs? So yeah, it was very serious.
Some parents may think the school would develop the child's gifts and talents because maybe they feel inadequate in nurturing their child's gifts, but there are steps parents can take to help their child. I know when my parents were told about me, you just thought, oh, the school will take care of that. And she'll just tell people, oh, Trina's so smart. But there are things that, and I'm going to tell you, my mom, what she could do, because both of my parents they worked every day. And they were, I'm trying to think of the word they used, but they just worked every day. They didn't have jobs where they had degrees. So she had to take out time. My dad, he did his job, but my mom had to take out time to just, take me places and do things with me, and not necessarily with me, but you'll see how, as I go through this, how she supported me. So, what are some ways parents can support their child? Number one, encourage your child to do things they are not good at. Now, you may have a GT child or a child that's exceptionally talented in one subject but don't like the other. Encourage them to do things in that subject. Children need to experience failure and disappointment before they go to college. You don't want them to break down in college because you've been letting them just take it easy throughout school and throughout life. And the next one, you want them to not be afraid of trying new things, with the exception of being the best. Some kids who are GT, they won't do it unless they know they're going to ace it, or they know they're going to, do their best. But in reading this article, I found that it's good to know that you can have fun at doing something even if you're not the best at it. Now, I can't do it now, but when I was younger, I loved to skate. Was I exceptional at skating? No, I was not, but I loved skating and it was fun to me. I didn't have to be the best at it, and I wasn't the best. But there are some things in school that I wanted to be the best at. But it's and I know you probably say, why should I want my child to experience failure and disappointment? Children need to know that they can fail and that they can succeed, and that everything is not a win, because you're setting them up for failure. And when they get older, if they never experience that now, um, it all works itself out. And number two, my little cute PowerPoint. Let's see if it works. Give them the tools they need to succeed. Give them independence. This may look like something as simple as full library access. Now, the article had said a library card, but with this COVID, you know, just give them access to the library. And I know in my city, kids have access to the Houston Public Library, and they can check out books all they want, all type of books. And don't put a limit on what a child is reading. Sometimes, if it's something, because a lot of kids who can read really good may not understand the content, but if they can read it, let them, because it will help their vocabulary. Now, when they get older, they might go back and revisit that book and say, oh, I didn't know this happened, because they missed it. But don't worry about it. If they choose a book that has a lot of pictures about rocket ships, and you're like, you can't read that. Now, as a librarian, I don't like it when teachers bring books back to me and say, well, they can't read this book. I know that when they left the library. But that book has amazing pictures in there where that child is going to want to keep looking at that and want to know what that is. They're going to either ask their parents about it, or they're going to start making out some of those words and finding out, what is this exactly? So it'll lead to the curiosity. That's one of the traits they have. And also, independence is going to mean they're going to socialize with older people. Because of their abilities, they're not going to always relate to the child that's in their grade level. So be prepared for them socializing with other people. Trips to the museums. And when I say the museums, all the museums. Um, if you're in Houston, then Thursday is usually called free day, where you can go to any museum free. Now, when you go in the museum, there might be special exhibits where you have to pay, but make a date to go to a museum. And when you go, talk about the exhibits. Ask them what they're thinking about. You'll be amazed at what the child might come up with. Trips to cultural events. When I was younger, there were the people place of Houston, and that was my first exposure to different cultures, because I lived in a neighborhood that was all black mostly, and my school was all black. So we would have these field trips, and it would take us to a center where we would learn about different cultures. And that was my first look at a different culture. And some of our kids are in our neighborhoods. They don't get to go out and experience it. But thank God for the internet, right? Because the internet, they can experience just a world of cultures. And if they have the Hub, Britannica, World Book, those are some databases that we have the child can go to. And then Houston is the most diverse city in America. I thought it was New York, but Houston is, because we have so many different cultures in our city. And there's always an event happening. Take time and go to some of these events. I learned about, and I love Greek mythology anyway, but I learned more about the Greeks when I went to their festival. And yeah, you might just go for the food, but I'm pretty sure your child will find something that amazes them. Now, spending a little money, it could mean hiring a tutor to give them lessons with more challenge. You don't want your child to just work, 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 but you want them to, if they're good in writing, get a tutor who's very good in writing that can challenge them with different ways of writing, different genres of writing. But you can do that, and you don't have to pay a lot either for something like that. Number three, provide intellectual challenges. Don't allow your child to coast through school. And coasting through school is never, if the teacher says this child, might can go to this grade, or you might want to send him to this school, and you're like, no, it's more convenient for me to leave him here. That's not a good thing. Now, one thing about me, when I was a first, second grade teacher, my principal actually came to me and said, Miss Jones, stop sending all our kids away. Because as a first grade teacher, I would get these students that I knew needed to be in a advanced school. We didn't have gifted and talented at our school. And now a lot of schools have it. They have like gifted and talented neighborhoods where they actually teach the courses in the school. But I knew these students needed that exposure. And I thought about me. I didn't get that exposure. I was always in the class with kids who were advanced learners. But to just go to a school that's advanced at an early age, it'll put you so far ahead of the game. And I knew there were schools like that, and I was so glad my parents trusted me, because I would tell them, this child needs to maybe relocate, and that means they may have to get on the bus. And I had to really do some talking, because parents, they want their child to be safe and be close to them. But those are some things that I did as a teacher to make sure those kids weren't going to coast, because I knew our school didn't have the curriculum for it. But what can you do if you don't choose to do something like that? Don't make this hard on yourself. Find fun, challenging games. One thing you can do is go to Pinterest. You can go to Pinterest and just type in, this is my account. And like I just typed in gifted and talented activities at home. And they have all these activities that you can choose from, and you can make them at home. Or you can just, if your child is in fifth grade, you can type in gifted and talented activities for a fifth grader. So you can use Pinterest. Close the page. Your child can learn a new language. Early ages learn languages quicker than older ages. Now, I say go to Mango, because where I live, we have the Houston Public Library app at our school, and the kids can go to Mango. I just click onto my page, but it's an app available for the students. Now, mind you, they have to have an email address, but you can take care of that. And right now I'm trying to learn French again, because I learned it in high school, but I didn't. But I'm pretty sure a younger student can pick up on this so easily. So now, encourage them to join after-school academic groups like book clubs, competition groups. Check your school and community sources. If your school doesn't have anything, check the community. And when I say academic, UIL is an academic competition you can get your child involved in. If your school doesn't have a book club, see if your community, the Salvation Army, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, see if they have a competition group. Or you might live in a vicinity where your neighborhood has different organizations, different groups. You can check that out. Now, number 4, 5, and 6. These are just some really quick tips that I wanted to add. Be open-minded about your child's friend choices. Yes, your child is going to attract older kids because of their ability to do things that their age group probably can't do. or they may seem like their interest, they can't really talk to people at their age group, or you might get them in a sport or something where they're very good at it, and you see they have a really good talent at it, and they may have to be with older kids. But just be mindful of that, and be watchful at the same time. Avoid comparing your child to other children, to your other children. My sister and I lived in the same house. Um, I brought home the A's and B's. She brought home the C's and some other stuff. But now, as parents do this sometimes, so I'm saying don't do it. Sometimes my mom would get on my sister and ask her, you need to do your best. And you see what Trina's doing. I didn't like that, because it made her feel like I'm doing my best. I'm just not as good as her. So try not to compare your child, and be honest about your child's giftedness. And when I say that, nobody's ever gotten a job based solely on their ability. Teach your child about things like, and I want to read this: charm, charisma, various other talents unrelated to intelligence. My first interview for a teacher job, I didn't have a lot of experience, so I was telling the principal everything I could do, all my achievements. And he looked at me and said, Miss Jones, I could take a C average teacher from college and I could make her a #1 teacher in the district. Well, I didn't understand that. I was young. But what he was saying was, you have the smarts, but I'm not seeing anything else. And I didn't mention to him that I love kids, that I work with kids a lot. I was just basically trying to sell myself on my achievements. So I always let children know that you're bright, you're talented, you're gifted, but that's not all. And just a little joke. You can see it if you go to Fry's and Best Buy. Fry's have the geniuses, and Best Buy have the people talkers or whatever. And it's a big difference. Both sell electronics. So now the next one, the reason why I wanted to make this one last, #7, is a lot. Get help if you need it. And you are going to need it with a gifted and talented child. I went to the Texas Association for the Gifted and Talented Parents page, and I'm gonna be honest, because I want to help you parents, I didn't like it. Um, I really like the National Association for Gifted Children resource for parents. It was more detailed. But one thing I did find by going to TAGTP was they do have support groups that you can join. Current support groups, how you can establish one if you don't have one. And when I clicked on current parent support groups, there are some groups that you can join right now. And this is what I say. If Houston doesn't have one, Houston ISD doesn't have a group, email the person in Katy. Ask them, can I join that group? I'm going to tell you, the North Texas, some of those districts are really great. You can email them. Email Mansville or Keller or Grapevine. I know them because I lived in North Texas for a few years. Those groups have, they may have a really good program. And all they can do is say no. I mean, you can, ask them, can you join their group, just to see what it's like. And then maybe you might want to do your own, start your own group. Well, that was some of the support I found in Texas for the Texas Gifted and Talented page. Now, the other page I went to was the National Association for Gifted Children. This page had so much information. There was so much information. I didn't even get to all of it, but planning for the summer, please check that out. Now, I am going to talk about a few of these pages before we leave, but I want to show you this video. This is a parent and he's talking about his daughter and what he does to support her.
Hello, my name is Tracy Inman, and I am the parent representative for the board of directors at the National Association for Gifted Children. And I'm very excited to have one of our keynote speakers here, Amy Taylor Swift, and her father, William Swift. So we're going to get real for just a moment, and I'm going to start with Dad, with William. Um, what tips do you have for parents who are dealing with precocious gifted children?
I think it's hard for your parent to really understand what that means because you project on what your children need. But that's a general overlay of what the definition of that is. For your child, it's different, right? And that's your child, it's them. It's not just a bunch of words for the definition.
Exactly.
So you end up thinking what people tell you is what it means. And then you go home and you deal with a child, and it takes you on a journey where you learn what it means for that child, and more importantly, what it means for you as a parent.
Right.
Exactly. So you've got to really internalize that and individualize it for your own child.
And you got to be careful not to project what people are telling you what it means, what other people have gone through with their child,
Exactly.
and then your own experiences of what you went through as a student in school growing up. And it's really hard to learn how to drop those boxes and let the child be the child, and let their path guide you, and let them be the person you have to give support. And I think that was, for me as a dad, that was the hardest part, not putting me in a box. And I thought I was more concerned about everybody else putting me in a box, and then one day I realized, she said to me, I said, I'm the problem. I'm putting her in a box, and I need to step back.
As parents, we do the very best we can with the information we have. And when we're out there, we're finding out what are characteristics, what are tendencies, all these kind of things. And you're right, it's so easy to stereotype.
Yes.
And to step aside. And it's really scary.
Yes, it is very scary. Yeah. It was, as Amy started to accelerate, like one summer she taught herself geometry in 6 weeks. And that's when I was kind of like, uh-oh. Uh-oh in a positive way, but still, uh-oh.
Right.
What am I doing here, right?
Exactly.
And when it came back to the education technologist, when she was profoundly gifted, one of the recommendations was go to college. I was a normal dad forever, right? Nope, my little girls weren't going to college in that environment, and I really had a hard time dropping that. Now, my wife was very good at helping me, guide me. I think she was more guide me than she did then. But using our kids in colleges, so Amy could get the experience that she needed. So as parents, we get the sense that she was going to be okay. She was going to be safe, get that and survive. So yeah, it was kind of those lessons to learn. And now for other kids, they're beneficiaries of Amy being first.
Yes.
And so they get a lot more freedom than she got. But you know, I think it's okay, right?
Yeah. I think she turned out.
Okay.
So I also hear you talking about how important it is for the main caregivers in the life to have communication and really support each other with that too.
Yeah, because there can be days, right, where the communication is off just a little bit. It ripples and it causes turmoil, and then there's fights happen. She's mad at me, I'm mad at her. Right? I mean, and then that's just what's hurting, right? Because I'm off a little bit, or the family's just not flowing well that day. And it would end up disrupting her. And that was another lesson I learned. It's like, hey, you're having a hard day, you can't escalate. Because it was completely disruptive for her.
And that is so realistic. And I think that happens with any child, in any family, that we all know when we're dealing with special children, or with gifted kids, they are exceptional children.
Yes.
And so it's going to be more intense for us than others. Okay, now this may be dangerous for William, but I'm going to ask you, Amy, what are tips that you have for parents of gifted children? Some things they should do and maybe not do?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there are a lot of different ways you can go about, like, you know, like my dad said, it's individualized, so it's your general tips, like what my dad was hinting at, like, to kind of step out of the way. So speaking from a student's point of view, one particular semester when I was transferring from CCC, which was my local community college, to TWU, which is where I got my undergrad, I was taking like 22 units in undergrad for my first. And my dad was like, well, I mean, that's a lot of units. Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure? I mean, I don't know. And, you know, of course, speaking, he can only speak from his, experience and his point of view. And of course, that's reasonable. But for me, do that summer school, winter school, extra classes in the semesters. And so my dad was like very hesitant. Now he didn't obviously like stop me. He was very hesitant. Like, I don't know, you don't know how much work that's going to be because I had never taken 22 units and taken them through all the college. And so he was like, well, you might want to maybe take, say 18 years. Instead, just scale it back. And I would feel like in that example, what a good thing he did was like, even though he was hesitant, he was still able to step out of the way and be like, well, this is your experience. And if you want to take 22 units, and this is your college experience, this is your degree, at the end of the day, it has my name on it. And so I'm going to step out of the way, and all you can do is give it guidance. And I think that's one of the best things that parents can do. Understand that they are, one of their primary goals in children's life is to guide them, but not to control them. So
the fine line. Fine line. So we step out of the way, and move that box, let you take your own path.
Yeah.
I think that's excellent advice. One that's tough for us to do, but I do think it's very important. You have a book in front of you. Would you like to share a little bit about what that is and how we can get it?
Yes, this is my mom and I wrote a book called The Homeschool Alternative, and it basically goes through, and it has two parts to the book. Well, I mean, it does have two parts. They're not separated from the book, but anyway, it's two parts to the book, and the first part of the book talks about how the public school wasn't designed for students of color in mind. When the public school system started way back when, they didn't even think that students of color would be in the public school, would be teachers, would want to be doctors and lawyers, much less gifted colored students. Like, what's that? So that was never, as they were designing what public school was going to be like, it was with students not of color in mind. And so that's what this talks about, and how that can really play an impact even though it's been hundreds of years. And so that's what that first part talks about. The second part talks about my mom and I and my family's experience and stopping public school, going to homeschool, taking the IQ test, early college, and Southern Path, etc. And then at the very end, it has a list of resources of things that we use or that we recommend, supplements.
And I'm going to stop it right there. We're not here to sell Haley's book. but I like this video because Dad was saying about how he had to step back. And when you think about units for some parents who may not have been to college, now this is when I went to school. There you have 3 credits a class. So 4 classes a semester, that's 12 units, right? And for her to take that many, I'm pretty sure he was like, "Are you sure about this?" But some of the stuff, kids, or not just kids that you take in college, are basic courses or courses that you need to take before you get to why you went to school. But he stepped out of her way, but he was still, making sure everything was fine. And that's when I was telling you about the independence you want to give the child. And it's different for every parent. Like he said, well, how it was when he went to school, it was different for her. Her experience is totally different. GT might look different at this school than it does at the other school. So you have friends or family who have a gifted, talented child in another school. Don't do a lot of comparing because that's just going to drive you nuts. But I wanted to show that video before I went into some of this good information that I looked up. And one of the things I looked up was parent tip sheets. All right. And what I did for you on the PowerPoint, the next slide, I copied a lot of this information so you can just look at it instead of clicking on it. And I'll just go through some of these. Something that Haley mentioned in her video, nurturing gifted African American children. We just think differently. And parents and educators need to be more aware of how different children think. And if your school doesn't have a GT coordinator, then the counselor will be the next person. So this would be a good publication to read. I copied that one. I also copied this brochure. It's a brochure on helping your child at home. What can you do as a parent? It gives you great tips. And I thought, oh, wow, this is great. I'm going to get this from my school. And it's also in Spanish. But the Spanish publication, you have to order it. So I'll ask my principal about that. But it's a great brochure I think every GT parent should have. And I really enjoyed this link of toys and games for gifted kids. It's so great that this association actually found games that you can buy for kids. And also what they did, they put them in different categories, so you know what your child might be able to play with and have success in it. And these games are not super expensive. I know I'm hearing so much about the PlayStation 5. I never played video games. I just never did. And I know those games are a whole lot less whole lot. These games are a whole lot less expensive than those. But these are some games that challenge your child's abilities, and you can go through. And they keep this list updated. So that's another thing that I added on my PowerPoint, and also I added. Let me make sure I got the right one. I added. No, that's the wrong one. Sorry, everybody. Oh, think I'm looking for the early child one. Let me close that tab. Anyway, it's in the next slide. But the early childhood um, tips on what you can do for early childhood children when they get in kindergarten, enrichment, what kind of after school activities that your child can be participants in. And when you get your child in an after school activity, even if it's a physical activity, see who's teaching the course. Don't just send them to the teenager who's trying to earn some extra cash and she's half teaching the course. You want your child to get the most out of that after school program. And I'll show you that clip next. Um, right here is these are the PDFs that I have for you, and you can just keep them in the PowerPoint, or you can click them and print them out, make your own little book. But I just thought these were some interesting um, files you can look at. And I'm telling you, the National Association, they have so much. And like I said, I didn't get to all of it. I really wanted to check out the summer programs or things you can do for the summer. And I might do another Zoom with that. But that's what I wanted to give to you. It wasn't like everything about UT, but just something to give you a little comfort of knowing what you can do with your child. And I had all these extra stories in my head, and I didn't tell them all, but I do talk a lot. So I'm going to open it up to any questions. I have one participant today. So do you have a question, Miss Darren? Miss Darden?
No, I was getting my son tested for like everything because I know he's like really smart. Um, ask a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
I know that that has a lot to do with his age. So I was just trying to.
Miss John, hi, Miss Johnson.
Hi. The kids call me Miss Johnson. I don't
Miss
mind.
Jones.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
What grade are you in?
What grade are you in? What grade are you in? What class are you in?
Miss Collins' class.
Kindergarten?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna tell you something.
Miss Jones.
Yes.
We'll talk first, then.
Is Miss Marsh there?
Is this Christopher?
Yes.
Yes.
Where's Miss Marsh?
You know what? I'm gonna tell you something, and I may use the word "get on my nerves," but I love my kids to death. When I was a first, second grade teacher, I had a first grader like Christopher. She asked me 1,000,001 questions a day, and her name was Melina. She should be grown now. And I would say, Melina, could you stop asking me questions? And she would just say, "What? I just asked." But I end up telling her mother that this girl needs to go to a GT school because the school I taught at, and it was like, oh my God, 90, not in the late 90s, and no, it was 2000, 2000 when I taught her, and I just remember she was so smart. She was so smart, and I knew our school didn't have what it took for her because we were just a regular school and we didn't have a GT program. But yes, those questions that might bug you a little bit. That's their curiosity. Uh,
Right.
and I'll give you a one quick story about those dreams that get deferred. This one little boy, he's grown now. His parents are work orientated. So when he was in school, he used to take apart everything. She would get so mad at him. Who took apart the radio? He did. Who took apart? He would just take apart. He took her phone apart one time, but he would put it back together. And he loved cars. He could tell you everything about a car, from the hood to the tires. But he had a very bad behavior problem, and it was his sixth grade teacher that caught his attention and kind of changed him around, turned him around. And when he got in high school, his parents would put him in these men mentoring groups just for behavior. But the gift that he had, it wasn't nurtured at all because they were just trying to get the behavior down. So he's now 22. Can you imagine? Oh, plus he was a gamer. When he was like 16, 17, he stayed locked in his room gaming. Okay, can take things apart, can tell you everything about a machine like a car. And that's like cars have been computerized for the longest. And he was a gamer. Think of what he could be doing now if his parents would have nurtured his ability more. So you think about things like that. You think about how sometimes parents might miss the boat because of the behavior, but you start tapping into what is it that they like doing. And I guarantee that behavior is gonna slack off a little bit because they're gonna be so engrossed in what they're doing. Um, so I just want to tell you that story about him, dream deferred. Hopefully, one day he'll get back into. He's still young. Maybe he'll want to go to school. But right now he has a job and he has a car and he has a girlfriend. He has an apartment. You know. But let's just keep nurturing every. I mean, whatever you don't know. Um, well, our GT coordinator is Miss Adanya. Ask Miss Adanya, Miss Adanya, what can I do? Email her. What can I do to, and ask his teacher,